You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied."
It happened in a moment no one expected. The beginning of a story that would echo for generations. Israel was restless. The people felt it in their bones, though they could not name it. Something was shifting across the land. The winds carried tension, uncertainty, and the quiet sense that the Lord was preparing something or someone for a purpose far beyond what any eye could see. Samuel, the prophet of God, walked the dusty road toward Bethlehem with the weight of heaven on his shoulders. He had obeyed the Lord for many years, but this command felt different, shrouded in mystery. The people trembled when he entered the town, unsure why a prophet had come to their doorsteps. Families whispered. Elders gathered. But Samuel's attention was fixed on one family, the household of Jesse. Jesse's sons stood tall, noble, warriors in their own right.
"Prophet, I stand ready. If there is anything you ask of me, I will do it with strength and honor."
Samuel studied the eldest, strong and impressive, and for a moment Samuel wondered if this was the one the Lord had chosen. But the voice in his spirit spoke with calm certainty as God said,
"Do not consider his appearance or his height. I look at the heart."
Samuel stepped back, surprised but obedient, and watched each son pass before him. And each time, the Lord's voice came again, guiding him.
"Not this one. Not him. Not yet."
"We are all here, my lord, except for maybe the youngest. He is tending the sheep."
He entered the room with dust on his hands and sunlight tangled in his hair. And as soon as he arrived, Samuel felt the unmistakable presence of God surround him. The Lord spoke again, firm and full of purpose.
"Rise and anoint him. This is the one."
Samuel's heart pounded. He lifted the horn of oil, and it flowed over the boy's head, running down like liquid light. The Spirit of the Lord rushed upon David with power, and Samuel leaned close, his voice gentle.
"The Lord has chosen you. Walk in his ways."
David didn't yet understand. How could he? One moment he was tending sheep. The next, heaven had laid destiny on his shoulders. But the Lord knew the path before him, a path no one around him could see. David returned to the hills, where the sheep grazed beneath a wide sky. The world saw an ordinary shepherd, but in the shadows of his quiet life, God was shaping a warrior. When lions prowled near the flock, David pursued them with courage no boy his age should have possessed. When bears lunged from the thickets, David fought them off with nothing but a sling and unwavering faith. These were battles no army applauded, no crowds witnessed, but heaven saw everyone. Far from Bethlehem, fear gripped Israel. The Philistines had assembled an army that darkened the horizon like a storm. His roar shook the valley of Elah morning and evening for 40 years. The giant stepped forward and thundered.
"Choose a man and let him come down to me. If he defeats me, we will serve you. But if I defeat him, all Israel will bow beneath the Philistines."
The words rolled across the valley like a curse. Even King Saul, once fearless, felt his spirit buckle under the weight of dread. Jesse, unaware of the terror unfolding at the battlefield, sent David to deliver food to his brothers. David arrived just as Goliath's voice thundered again. Israel's warriors froze in panic, but David stood still, eyes locked on the massive figure mocking the armies of the living God. A shepherd boy was questioning the courage of Israel.
Who is this Philistine who defies the armies of the living God?
Word spread quickly, and so Saul summoned him. David stood before the king with a calm strength that challenged the fear in the room. Saul saw only youth and inexperience.
You have been brought before the king because you speak without fear. Explain yourself. Why do you challenge the courage of Israel?
But David's voice did not waver as he said,
The Lord who rescued me from the lion and the bear will rescue me from this Philistine.
Saul studied him, this boy who spoke with the resolve of a seasoned warrior. With little else to hope in, he agreed. He offered David his own armor, heavy and imposing. But David moved awkwardly beneath it and soon removed it. He needed only what God had trained him with.
David, go, and the Lord
A
be
sling,
with thee.
a staff, and 5 smooth stones chosen from a running stream. David stepped onto the battlefield. The ground vibrated beneath Goliath's footsteps as the giant strode forward. When he saw the young shepherd approaching, no armor, no sword, Goliath laughed.
Am I a dog that you come to me with sticks? Come here, boy, and I will feed your flesh to the birds of the sky.
The air tightened, waiting for the shepherd to flee. But David did not move. His grip tightened on his sling as he called back.
You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied.
A hush fell. Even the Philistines paused. Then Goliath charged. David ran forward, fearless. His feet pounded the earth. He reached into his pouch. A stone glinted between his fingers. He placed it in the sling. The world slowed. The wind held its breath, and David released the stone with practiced precision. The strike landed. The valley echoed with a crack. Goliath staggered, eyes wide, and the giant fell forward with a thunder that shook the ground. Israel gasped. The Philistines panicked. And David stood over the giant, breathing hard, heart steady, knowing this victory belonged not to him, but to the God who had always been with him. Saul welcomed David into his service after the battle. David played the harp for the king when darkness troubled him, for his music carried a peace Saul could not explain. Israel began to whisper David's name in awe, but David remained humble, walking in the calling God had spoken over him in secret. One night, as David looked up at the stars from the palace courtyard, the familiar voice of the Lord stirred his heart. God said,
Do not be afraid, David. I am with you wherever you go.
David closed his eyes, overwhelmed by the presence of the one who had guided him from fields to palace halls, from lions to giants. He could not see the future, the battles, the triumphs, the heartbreak, the throne. But he trusted the one who saw it all. And so, the story of David, the shepherd chosen by God, the young warrior who silenced a giant, became a testimony that echoed through generations. A reminder that courage is born when faith meets obedience, and that the smallest step, taken with God, can reshape the fate of nations. Because while the world trembled before a giant, God had already chosen the boy who would bring him down.